Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO _White Sox. And you can follow Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
On Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. We'll be talking about expectations for the second half. We'll be talking about the good old culture of the White Sox. It's a culture you just want to bathe in, be all stinky. And then we'll mention Liam Hendricks and him talking at the ESPY Awards last night as he got honored with the Jimmy V Foundation Award, or the Jimmy V Award from the Jimmy V Foundation. And we're very excited to talk and honor Liam Hendricks' fantastic battle and fight with cancer. That he's living and thriving each and every day after he has now been cancer-free. But thank you, everybody, hanging out with us in the chat. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button if you are hanging out with us. And Herb, why would people watch this team?
I don't know. I mean, as a fan, I am reluctant to say that I wouldn't watch this team if I didn't have to watch the team, as the person that does this show with you and Vinny. But I'm just trying to think, like, if you don't have any actual ties to this team and you're at the crib, I don't know why you would watch.
You're John Normal working a 9 to 5.
Yeah, find something else. We're in the golden age of TV. There's a lot of TV shows out there. We just started watching Succession. We're in like our 5th episode of the first season of Succession. Everybody's terrible except for our cousin Greg. You have a lot of things you can watch other than the White Sox. You can go out for a walk. It's the summer. Right by my house, there's a nice summertime festival that happens every Thursday in the summer. Go to that. It's by Argyle Street. You can go to any of the festivals here in Chicago. Go to the museums that we have here.
77 neighborhoods.
There's so many other things you could do with your life than watching White Sox baseball. As we said last year, if you want to do that and do something else and then occasionally check in with us or every night check in with us and see how the White Sox did, baby, we're in there because we're going to be watching every game. It's our punishment for choosing this team a long time ago with our lives, and we're lucky we have this job. It's a great job. I love talking to Sean and Vinny, chopping up with my guy Steven, who is our producer. But, if I didn't have to watch these some bitches, I would be hard-pressed to not watch it. Saying that, I'm trying to think last week when I went to Denver, did I watch? Yes, we're in a bar in Denver on the Friday game, and I got my TV, my little phone, on the Sox watching that game late in the game versus the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think I told you guys when I was in Nashville, a full week of not watching White Sox baseball, I just checked the score afterward. It was great. I'm like, oh, Sox got walked off on a wild pitch. Like, glad I missed that one. A whole week of not having stress over how they were going to lose that game. Beautiful.
Hey, blissful. What ignorance is bliss? That's what I'm trying to say. If you don't have to, don't. We've used the word uninspiring about this team a ton in 2023, especially at the end of 2022. I don't know why people would tune in. I heard that term describing the Jacob Gonzalez pick. I was listening to some Southside Sox stuff with Tommy Barbary, Ballantini, and Malachi Hayes, who will be joining us tomorrow at 1 p.m. So we're excited to talk to him about what Luis Robert Dunn Jr. has done to kind of become the superstar. But that's really the only reason why I would watch. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. I think that there will be pieces moved. I think that Lucas and Lance are pretty gone.
Yeah.
If they can move Joe Kelly, I think they will. If they can move Kendall Graveman, I think they will. I hate to say this, Steven. If they can move Gregory Santos, he might be a guy with a ton of value.
No, he's staying.
He's young. He's got control.
I would.
He's young. He's got control. and he's only a reliever.
Anybody who has a high upside where you didn't expect it, I'm trading them immediately. Gregory Santos would be off my team immediately. As we talked about volatility in bullpens. Last year, you would have never moved Jimmy Lambert or Ronaldo Lopez. What happens this year? They're both bad this year. That's what you have to do with bullpen arms. Once they show you that they're good and they don't have any type of elasticity for going on to the next or the year after that, you got to get what you can get out of Groot Santos, and he will be a valued member as a 100-mile-per-hour guy. I mean, and the guy that with the sub-3 ERA, yeah, somebody's definitely going to take Groot Santos.
He's the team in ERA.
Huh?
He leads the team in ERA.
Yeah, so, yes, he has 100-mile-per-hour stuff, and I'm sure people want to say, let's just hold on to that for the future. You can get what Groot Santos is somewhere else. You got him like this. You got him pretty much in a garbage trade.
But
so
you got him in Rule 5 draft.
Rule 5 trade. I was thinking it was the Clayton McClure draft or trade, but it wasn't. But you got him in a Rule 5 trade. So you can do that again. There's a lot of those players just sticking around, and if you get hands on them with Ethan Katz, you can make him into a Groot Santos and immediately trade him. That's why I wanted to trade Jake Berger when he was going off on his tangent, and everybody's like, no, you can't trade him. He's one of our best hitters. Like, do you think he's going to be this? And he's shown to be not this as yet. But now he's back to being kind of mediocre, so you really can't trade Jake Berger. If somehow, some way, in these last couple games before the trade deadline, he goes off on a home run tangent again, find a trade partner for Jake Berger too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how valuable Berger is, and I think that's just the reason why you won't see him traded. Again, he wasn't even valuable to the team. Wasn't on the opening day roster. I mean, the White Sox, he improved his defense, and I still don't think he's improved his trade value. I don't think he's a viable third baseman for a team to start their franchise with, right? He's got very limited defensive upside. He's basically a DH, and right now, when he gets cold as hell, he gets cold as hell. I guess hell doesn't get that cold.
But think about what you said yesterday and what we've been talking about with him. He's listening to his wife. I mean, it's not a bad thing he's listening to his wife, but she's adjusting the hitting. She's understanding what's wrong with them. Where's the hitting coaches here with the White Sox? Got 18 million of them. Maybe on somebody else's team, they could see what's wrong with him initially and get him right before he runs into this path that he's gone into with the White Sox. It just seems like, and we'll talk about culture later, the White Sox just have a hard time of getting players to hit their zenith and stay there.
Yeah, and I don't think Groot Santos nets a top prospect, but if you could get maybe a AAA fringe arm, like a starter.
Yeah.
I mean, this team doesn't have anything next year in the rotation. So if you can get a fifth starter, because some team thinks Gregory Santos could be a 7th, 8th inning guy in the bullpen. I mean, maybe that happens. I think that's wishful thinking. But I don't think he gets you a top 10 prospect. No, I mean he's all reliever. But that's, again, you got him for nothing. And we've seen Keenan Middleton come up and be great. And
another person.
Groot Santos be all right. And, they've seemingly fixed Jimmy Lambert last year and Ronaldo Lopez. They've had some success stories in the pitching department and specifically with relievers. So, I mean, they're a dime a dozen. And I really do think that if you can get anything for anyone, if it's not bolted down, let's not move it. And I think Luis Roberts bolted down. That's really it. I think if, the Orioles got real bold, the Diamondbacks got real bold, I think they can get Dylan Cease. I don't want to get my hopes up.
What if those two teams get real bold for Luis Robert? I know they both have full outfields, but they would make some room for Luis Robert.
We saw what Juan Soto got, and he was an expiring contract.
Yes.
So Luis Robert Jr. should, not that exact haul, but it should be a ridiculous trade package for somebody that is that cheap,
a Santander,
that good center field. You just want Anthony Santander. That's the headline.
No, that's a start.
No,
that's a start.
Gunnar Henderson and the fucking kid with the K last name. I do not know his name.
Yeah,
Hurston Keldrler, second overall pick. That's a good start for for Luis Robert Jr. Again, we're talking about a 6-tool, center fielder here. Soto had 2.5 years when he got traded. My bad. Heston Kjerstad. Yes. I thought the whole thing with Soto was they didn't lose him.
No, they didn't have to pay him at all.
Because what
they tried extending him, he rejected, and then they traded him because he's not going to take that money from them. He might not later on. They did
He had
offer him a deal. It just wasn't enough.
Why didn't they just keep him then for 2.5 years?
Because Mike Rizzo's a bad GM.
I guess he is. Yeah. Wow. He's still under arbitration. I totally thought he signed it. He's a really bad GM. Why did you give up Juan Soto? Not even 25. He's younger than me.
To get Mackenzie Gore and the shortstop Abrams.
Stupid. Anyways, I think that it would be really impossible to get Luis Robert Jr. And I think that's fine. I don't think that the GM should really be moving on from Luis Robert Jr. I think the team should be moving on from the GM. We know this. But like after they get rid of Lucas and Lance, I think that seems, pretty likely.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the expectations for this team? They currently sit 16 games under 500, 8.5 games back in the AL Central. I mean, like, do you expect this team to have a winning month at all once they get rid of Lucas and Lance?
I don't expect them to be any worse than they gave up Lucas and Lance. I know those are two great starting pitchers or good starting pitchers on the White Sox, but the starting pitcher has never been the problem. I don't think there'll be any difference. 16 games below 500 is hard to get to, very hard to get to. And I think this team is just going to be the same team. It's going to be 16 games under 500 for the second half, which is fewer games. So they're going to be way worse than they were before. But I think, they'll maybe put it together a September that's a winning month, because if you look at that September, they're playing nothing but bad teams except for at the end. I think they play the Padres, who is under 500 right now, and maybe the Giants or somebody Arizona Diamondbacks. So they might put it together in the month of September/October to get a winning month there, but I don't expect them to be worse than they were this first half. I expect them to be the exact same team. 16 games under 500, maybe a little bit better, because just the bounce back. You're just so bad. You go back up to regression. No one thought this team was 16 games below 500 before the season started, and even the worst projections didn't think you were 16 games below 500.
I mean, still the GM though, and the fourth was saying, we have the best record in the AL Central since May 1st. Like, I mean, like they were winning. They were 3 games over 500 since May. Yeah. And then obviously they played the Blue Jays and Cardinals, but like, I mean, the pitching has been what has kept this team afloat.
Yep.
I think if you get rid of Lance Lynn and you get rid of Lucas Giolito, I mean, this is going to fall completely through. I mean, they might be 25, 26 games under 500 when this completely settles.
Oh, that's just 10 more games worse than they were? That's fine.
Am I misselling this then?
Like you're making them too positive. I'm saying that they're going to add 16 more games under 500. So they're going to be 32 games eventually under 500. So, yes, they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be worse than they were in the first half.
Jesus Christ.
Well, they have 70 games left.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
So, yeah, I'm saying that 70 games. So, it's not the 92 games sample size being 16 games under 500. It's going to be 70 games where there's 16 games under 500 or 15 games under 500. Whatever it is, they're going to be bad. I guess that'll be worse than the first half. So I just
they'd be 19 and 70, I think, right? Or 19 and 70 minus 19. That's what I need to do. They'd be 50. They would be 19 and 51 if they were 16 games under 500.
What that
in the last 70 games, if they were 16 games under if they go 16 games under 500 in the second half,
yeah,
they would be 19 and 51?
No, it's way too many.
Is it?
Yeah, it's way too many games under 500. Yeah.
I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Please do. I am the math guy, and obviously I'm not doing math correctly.
Somebody's going to do it over here. But bad. Real bad. I mean, this series versus the Atlanta Braves. We're not even starting our best pitcher, and we're just going to get housed this weekend.
35 and 35 would be 500. So 35 minus 16.
No, that doesn't work like that. There it is. 27-43. That's 16 games below.
He said, I think. You guys are so confident in Connor.
That's 16 games. 43 minus 27 is 16 games. And if he adds 27 and 43, it's 70 games.
KBW got he's on his game today.
He's Canadian.
Fine. Yeah.
They do things better than us.
Currency's different. I mean, you look at the back of a book, the currency's different.
Yeah, but they're smart there because they're not American.
I think that's a metric
calculator
record for them. So 27 and 43.
Doesn't that sound right?
Why not call it 25 and 45?
That works for me. Yeah.
I mean, why not
clean
just
20 games under.
Yeah. I mean, like there is no expectation besides me looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook app and then seeing that the longest win streak for the Sox is at over 5.5. So I do think it would be absolutely hilarious for this team to finally put a win streak together, but in like September, right?
Oh yeah.
They play Detroit, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, like for like 19 games right there. Hilarious if they would win just 6 straight in there, like swept the Tigers, swept the Royals in September, and then Pedro can be like, culture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're doing.
Win streak, that's culture, baby.
We're putting together, and watch out for 2024.
Zach Remillard hit 800 in these 6 games.
Yeah, you're right. Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota, Washington, Boston, Arizona, San Diego.
It's not that tough. I mean, Boston. Boston who?
Boston, Arizona, San Diego.
That's tough. Those 3 are tough. But
San Diego at that time will probably be out of the playoffs. Boston and Arizona will be battling, but every single other one of those teams will be out of the playoffs. Minnesota will be in the playoffs. Hunt.
By default.
Yeah. But they'll probably be under 500 themselves.
Fangraphs projects the Sox in the next 70 games to go what?
I say they were going to be very generous. I think they're going 30 and 40. I think Fangraphs says they're going 30 and 40.
Pretty good. 34 to 36.
Okay.
So much more generous than you thought. But yeah, they have them resting at 72 and 90, which, I mean, a lot of people, I think Vinny was a person that had him over 90. I think I had him at 83.
I think I had him at 85 or 86.
85. So, I mean, 72 and 90.
I think that would equal their worst season since the World Series. I think 2007 they also won 72 and 90 or 70 and 92, something like that.
If they go the record that I got them at, they'll be, I think, 65
Jesus Christ.
wins.
So since 2005, 72 and 90 in 2007. 63 and 99 in 2013. So, yeah, 67 and 95 and then 62 and 100. They lost 100 games, I forgot.
God.
So 2018 is the worst year. I don't think they lose 100 games.
How sad is the comment by Nick right there? 36 and 34 second half would put them at 74 and 88 to finish the year.
That's pretty good.
They have to go 2 games over 500 to get them very, very mediocre records.
They have to go 2 games over 500 to do Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert.
Perfect.
There you go.
The only 2 people will be here after all this trading.
What's their win percent right now at the stupid record that they have?
413.
413. So 414 in 2017 was 67 and 95. I mean, is that do they go over or under 95 wins? 94 and a half. 94 and a half over under in 2023.
94 wins?
94 and a half losses. Over under.
Over.
Do you think they're
over? Yeah.
You think they're 2017 or worse?
Yes.
67 and 95 was that team?
Yes. That's where I got them.
That's disgusting. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about the culture that is just breeding this fantastic machine on the South Side. The parade's going to be, I mean, a movie. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an insane scene. Just watching all those floats go down and left and right, up, down, all around, man. That's going to be fantastic.
One circle.
Herb, do you know what's going to be great?
What is?
A Sunnyside Friday.
Oh.
Who's made you feel good in the city of Chicago recently?
Well, we'll talk about him a little later, but Liam Hendricks accepting his ESPY award the other day for Courage on a Jimmy V award.
Look at that.
That made me feel really good.
Yes, it did. And we love Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. And, of course, you can recreationally consume cannabis now. But also, it's got medicinal benefits.
It does
as well. So, you hear it helping cancer patients. I'm somebody with epilepsy, and I know people with a little bit more severe epilepsy use cannabis to help them. So, I mean, it is something that if you have a little bit of judgment, go walk into Sunnyside. People are very helpful. Again, judgment-free zone, and they're going to help you relax.
And they can help you get your Illinois Med card too. If you do have one of these ailments, even though the Sunnyside low prices will be even lower.
One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are in your cannabis journey. And it's easy online ordering and in-store pickup also is boosted with their great transparency loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards. It's Illinois' favorite dispensary from city to suburbs, Wrigleyville to River North, Champaign to South Beloit. So through August, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med card holder. Again, code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order at sunnyside.shop. So thank you to Sunnyside for sponsoring the podcast. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Lewis University. Students are just like you at Lewis University. They have full-time jobs, families, and full-time sports fandoms. And usually I like to talk about my cousin Maggie.
Yes.
However, on 7-Eleven day, I walked in looking for a cold pop, and I met my normal 7-Eleven cashier, my guy. And he was like, "Oh, you want a free Slurpee?" I was like, "What? No." I was like, "I don't need a Slurpee."
He's like,
"I'll get." He's like, "It's 7-Eleven day." I was like, "Oh, I had no idea going to 7-Eleven on 7-Eleven. Had no clue."
You can bring as big as a cup as you can fill.
Right. I made the joke earlier to Cody. I mean, I wouldn't know it's the 4th of July outside except for the fireworks that are going off. But my guy was telling me that he was just asking like, "Well, what do you do?" And I was like, I obviously know what you do. You're a 7-Eleven cashier. But he also, having a job, is also a student at Lewis.
Oh, wow.
He came over from India. He got his bachelor's degree there. And now he is working full-time at 7-Eleven, night shift. And he is a grad student at Lewis University. The programs fit his life. I think he's got 2 more semesters left to finish up. So shout out to Lewis University, 35 miles southwest of Chicago in Romeoville. And they are going to take care of anybody. If you are a person wherever you are in your college journey, whether you're looking to finish your bachelor's degree, get a master's degree, finish your master's degree, Lewis University is going to have the grad programs and adult undergrad performance programs for you. My guy working at the 7-Eleven is getting cybersecurity. That's one of the programs that they talk about here. It's a Department of Homeland Security Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity. So discover how a degree from Lewis University can help you build a better world. Learn more at lewisu.edu/YOU can do this. And I feel bad because I completely blank on his name. Maddie's better with names. So I usually rely on her, and now I'm completely blanking on his name. But he's always greeting me with a smile.
Sure that 7-Eleven clerk finds Lewis University convenient.
I think so too. Oh, look at you. Mercy. All right.
I used that the other day. No kids yet. Still dad jokes.
Also, Dust UFO earlier up here mentioned the report, and I want to actually miscredit this. There's no reason. I know who actually reported this, but on Bernstein and Holmes, which is incorrect. John Morosi, which is incorrect. Claim that there are 4 untouchables for the White Sox organization: Luis Robert Jr., Andrew Vaughn, Eloy Jimenez, and Dylan Cease. Again, I feel pretty fine with if anyone but Luis Robert Jr. is gone. I'm fine. I understand it, and as long as they are getting fair value or more than fair value, I would be excited. But I just, it's weird that they're like, Andrew Vaughn's untouchable.
Very weird. And that's coming from a guy who loves Andrew Vaughn, like in yourself.
Yeah, and it's like, why? Is he untouchable because no one wants him? Like, and I did get a little bit nervous, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, that there was a comp that Andrew Vaughn's like David Ortiz in Minnesota, that he's
waiting
not,
to take steroids when he goes to Boston?
Exactly. Okay. But David Ortiz was very much a all fields hitter in Minnesota, and then he got to Boston, and they were like, "Hey, you're a big ass motherfucker. What if you just pulled the ball?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll just hit 500 home runs and go to the Hall of Fame." I just have that fear that Andrew Vaughn's gonna go. I don't know what place is an easy right field. He's gonna go to Houston, right? Mm-hmm. They're gonna put him in left field with the Crawford boxes, and he's just gonna be pulling home runs and hit like 35 bombs and become the next Jeff Bagwell. So like that's my fear is really that maybe the White Sox do know the talent that they're just absolutely butchering in Andrew Vaughn, and that's why he's untouchable. But I mean, they're doing with Eloy Jimenez as well. Maybe we'll be able to see the gross that Luis Robert has made with those two players. But so far, I mean, I think some of those players are untouchable because they're just not good.
Yeah, I think
Yohan Moncada's untouchable because no one wants him.
Your contract's ridiculous, and but I think David Ortiz has like the most home runs after being a certain age, because he was like 26 when he left Minnesota, and then he hit most of his home runs in Boston.
Yes,
he was aided.
27 to 40. He hit 483 home runs.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good, but also like I think Barry Bonds was pretty.
But he was good, and when he was in his early 20s too.
27 to 42. Barry Bonds hit 620 homers.
Baby,
that's stupid.
Yeah, and think about it. He played in his home games in San Francisco. The Marine Lair there, that ballpark, that right field, not the smallest of right fields. He was definitely doing some shit. And I think you brought up early in the year the Gagne versus Bonds battle. And he hit 2 steroid-addled players, and Barry Bonds won that battle when he had a straight center, too. And that's a poke, too, out there at Globe Life, or what's it? Not Globe Life, Oracle / Pac Bell. AT&T ballpark.
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick question here, Herb?
Yes, you can.
You mentioned that park and that splash zone.
Yep.
102 official splash hits. I'm not sure if these are just specifically by Giants, or if these are only by Giants, I think.
And these are splash hits are the ones on the fly.
Yeah, on the fly that hit into McCovey Cove. San Francisco Giants only. 102 splash hits. How many were Barry Bonds?
All right, let me just pare it down. I mean, Pablo probably hit a couple. Brandon Bell would hit a couple. I would say 47 of those.
Brandon Belt, I believe, is second on the list with 10. Your guess, it actually oversold Barry Bonds.
Okay.
35 of 102. 34% of these splash hits were hit by Barry Bonds.
And he hadn't played in years.
I mean, like, honestly, when he left, I mean, that's what I should do. He hit 35 of the first 45. That's ridiculous. And that's your Barry Bonds stat of the day. All right, let's get into culture here. This has been a thing that I've been, during the All-Star break, kind of going around and checking out all the Sox coverage. I've been checking out the Future Sox, and we had Mike Rankin on to talk about the draft yesterday, so make sure you go back and listen to that episode if you didn't. Listen to some Southside Sox stuff too with the draft recap, and been listening to some Sox Machine and read up on some Jim Margulis over at SoxMachine.com.
Awesome stuff.
And Jim recently wrote about the White Sox record is their culture, and there is a quote from Scott Merkin that was tweeted out right before the game on Sunday from Pedro Grifol, building an organizational culture. Quote, "I think the foundation is being set. We've got some work to do, but the foundation is in place, and we've got to continue to really focus on it. I believe that's a really big part of building a sustainable championship organization. Culture is a big part of it. It's not quantifiable. A lot of people don't believe in it. I've lived it. When you go to 2 World Series in a row and you see a clubhouse and you see an organization and you see culture in place, I just believe in culture." A lot of that was gibberish. He just believes in it, Herb.
Yeah.
A big believer in it. And he says, you see a clubhouse and you see an organization and you see culture in place. Like, you could just see it. No one's really, it doesn't feel like you can see it, Nope. Like, I mean, like, there's no rave reviews of culture. We heard rave reviews of culture in 2020 and 2021, and now we've heard that that's tied to winning. But I also wonder, like, did it become too professional? Like, did it just become too serious? Like, did the move from Ricky Renteria to Tony LaRussa just put too much pressure on this team, and then everyone got all guarded and everyone started to turn into cliques, and now we've just seen this absolute ball of energy explode on us?
Yeah, when we, Tanny and I did the Locked On Sox, the day that it was announced that Tony LaRussa was getting hired, I remember I was pissed, and people were like, "Herb, what about managers not mattering?" I was like, they don't. unless they come in and change what is fun about this team, young, hip, hot, happening, enjoyable. Remember that Oakland series? Yes, they lost 2-1 to Oakland, but Timmy starts off his playoff career, 9 for 9? Hot as shit. Lucas Giolito, 18 straight versus Oakland, gives up a couple hits, 1 run, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, plus he has that dominating game. You see the home run by Luis Robert in that game. Oasis of a bunch of garbage in the second half that Luis Robert had, but you saw the 485 or whatever it was off of Mike. 487 off of Mike Fires. You're like, okay, here we go. The one play that Oloy played, double, gets hurt immediately. So you're like, all right, yeah, we got dismissed pretty easily, and then we get the pitcher who shut us down. Liam Hendricks got the last out versus Norma Mazzara, and you're like, okay, we got that guy now who was on that other team that was shutting us down. All right, we're going in the right direction. And I was like, when they fired Ricky Renteria, I was like, cool. I guess he's a A to B guy. He's kind of like, you remember Doug Collins? I don't know if you, Doug Collins was the Bulls. Yeah, the Bulls coach up until the 90s. And then they took over and they fired Doug Collins and Phil Collins took over. That's what Phil Jackson took over. I hope Phil Collins didn't take over. Coach, we need to play. Stop playing that drums. I could feel it. And that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, he's going to get his Phil Jackson. And I was like, okay, I don't necessarily like all the stuff that Rick Hahn does, but this might be a good move. We're moving on to the future. And then when they hired Tony LaRussa, I was like, that's going to stop some of the fun that's going on. He's old school. He hasn't been in the game for 11 years. I was like, I hope I'm wrong, but that's the start of it. And I think that put a ripple effect through the whole organization. The players realized that they're not going to be the team that they used to be, even though they won the division that year. They were all behind Tony LaRussa. Everything was good, but the players realized it wasn't going to be fun anymore, and maybe that happened when Yermin hit that home run on the 3-0 count in Minnesota. These things have a chasm of these players. Remember, they were having a great time. They were convivial with each other, enjoying each other's company. Now, last year you hear the cliques. You hear everybody's kind of mad at each other. Everybody stays away from each other. There's no unity. The 2020 team, everybody loved. They were family. People like, this is going to be the team that's going to win a World Series because they're all having a good time. That is where it happened with the culture of the White Sox. Bringing this new guy in, I thought maybe that can happen too. Something fresh, a guy that understands them, a guy that's being seen them from afar, a guy that speaks the language that they speak, a native tongue, not just a person that speaks Spanish, a person that actually is of the culture. And it hasn't happened yet, but I know what he's talking about. He's talking about setting a standard in that clubhouse that has to be followed, and then the wins and all the results will follow. But I don't too much disagree with him, but this team is too far gone. Too many different agendas for these players. Too many agendas for the front office. You cannot tell me that people respect Rick Hahn in that clubhouse after he got usurped by Jerry Reinsdorf. You cannot tell me that these players are playing for each other like they did in 2021, where they had injuries there too. They had a lot of injuries in 2021. And still, they came back, and players who came up from the minors or players who were a bench player, they stepped up when it needed to do it. This year, people get injured, and we get no real help except for Jake Berger with his great home run streak there. But you can't tell me that this team likes each other. The culture there is losing. The culture there is sad sack. The culture there is not good. And that started on October 29th, 2020, when they hired Tony LaRussa. You could see on the face of Rick Hahn that day. If you go back and watch the video of him introducing on Zoom Tony LaRussa, he's crestfallen. He's heartbroken. Introducing your new manager, who's happened to be a Hall of Famer that won 3 championships. That, I think, was the day the White Sox died, and it was bad. And
that goofy guy had a big old smile on his face when Pedro Grifol was announced. So, I mean, still, it's mainly the guy smiling and picking these managers because he still has a job, and those managers don't. But Jim also then links to a report from Darryl Van Schouwen, who I think then got at the time exclusive comments from Pedro about culture. And Pedro described what culture looks like. What it feels like is you can't wait to get to the clubhouse and perform. What it looks like is when you're watching us from up there in the stands, you want people to say, these guys are together. These guys are fighting together. They're playing to win every single night. And obviously what it acts like is these guys are professionals. They respect the game. They respect the fans. They respect what they do. And they really respect our team. I don't get that from this team. I don't get any sense of that from this team. I don't get any fun. I don't get any unity. I don't get any camaraderie. I think that Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert Jr. are very good friends.
Yes.
I think they like each other.
Mm-hmm. Pitchers probably like each other.
Yeah.
But I think that's also kind of forced.
Yeah. I mean, and two, it's just like, I mean, if the pitchers are doing well, you know, I mean, like, those guys aren't going to get really mad at Lance Lynn. No. But, like, you know, if Lucas is coming in and he's pitching each and every single day and performing, I don't think they care. You know, I mean, like, they're not going to talk to him on the day he's pitching. And, you know, I mean, like, it's all about probably support. But, yeah, I mean, the position players, like, they are playing every single day with each other, and they don't seem like a unit.
No, they don't. I don't know if they like each other. And I've not been in the clubhouse, so take this with a grain of salt. And you don't necessarily need to like each other to play hard, but you got to kind of play for your other team, your teammate. It's an individual game played within a team concept. And I see a lot of selfish play, a lot of ragged play. They haven't figured out any of their offensive or their defensive woes in the outfield where they're calling people out. They're doing a little bit better with the calling off the ball, but they still bump into each other all the time. The errors are prolific. So I don't know what needs to change. I do know what needs to change, but realistically, I don't know what needs to change on this team for this team to move forward.
Players. I think that it's time to just move on from Tim Anderson. And I know some people, and you especially, don't like hearing that because he's meant so much to the team. But I think that there's a lot going on in his life. I think there's a lot going on in his head. And I do think that it affects his ability to be a leader, be that guy as the shortstop to, you know, be the face of the team. I mean, this was the defining moment. He just did that of free will, volition. You know, fuck Brad Keller.
Yeah.
And you know, that was the energy we wanted. And he's not been able to enjoy any success of his own this year at all. I mean, like, he's not been able to flip a damn bat out of pride and joy this entire year.
And that's defiance. That's us against them type of mentality. I'm surprised that they haven't done that type of thing where Pedro, Rick, so one of the players comes out and says, you know what? If you're not with us, F you. We're doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for the 26 men in that clubhouse. That's a defiant moment because he's like, yeah, he's turning around to his teammate and saying, let's go. He's not showing up Brad Keller. And then, of course, Brad Keller hits him with the next time he comes up, and his teammates have his back. We haven't seen any of that type of camaraderie. I got your six type of team building. And maybe it's because of all the stuff that's been going on with the team and how badly Tim's been playing poorly. And as we say, as he goes, the team goes, and that couldn't be more true this year. He's been hella poor, hella bad on the field, and the team is the same. Now, if Tim catches fire, see, that's the reason why I don't want to get rid of him, because firstly, he's playing bad, and you won't get your proper value from him. And then secondly, once he gets traded, I guarantee he's going to fucking go off, and I'm going to be so pissed. And some other team and some other fan base will be like, yeah, buddy, we got TA7. And they're going to be all happy, and we got a pair of socks for them.
Literally.
And then in like 20 years from now, we're going to be like, man, remember when we had Tim Anderson? Man, those first 4 or 5 years, nice. And then he went on to that Hall of Fame career with the Giants.
Yeah.
Sad.
Well, and Blink Name's asking about Tim's trade value. Melky Hayes will be with us tomorrow, and he tweeted today. I wonder why a guy whose carrying tool is 70 grade bat control suddenly can't hit for contact while playing with a bum shoulder. That being Tim Anderson. I do think that I heard something that, like, you know, 100% of Tim being off of his OPS is because he's hurt. 100 points of that is him just having bad luck. And then 100% of that is probably, off the field stuff. And it's just like, if he could just have some better luck, if he could maybe just have a clearer head, if maybe some of those things that a front office can talk themselves into, maybe there's a mid-teen prospect. I think also the thing too is like, for Tim Anderson, you might have to be a little bit more bold and be like, all right, maybe we have to see a project and a long-term project like the Padres. I don't know exactly if they saw that with Fernando Tatis Jr., but again, he turned into something just for James Shields, right?
Steroids.
Again,
steroids.
Steroids, yeah. I mean, he's pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, but, he had steroids, and then you stay at a level. He's not doing steroids anymore, but he got his money.
Yeah.
You don't just drop off.
Do you want non-steroid Tatis on the team this year?
I want non-steroid people on my team, yes.
No, I know, but do you think he's non-steroid right now? You've been watching him. He's
probably not. He's probably ahead of the game somew. He's probably been doing this for
smart.
a while. Probably been doing this steroid cycle for a while and understand. But yeah, he was just dumb. And then he tried to make excuses. Oh, I got acne. I got this. I got ringworm. You have deficient money in your pocket, so you wanted to have a little bit more. You see how his brother is? Elijah sucks. And Fernando probably wasn't that good either.
I don't know about that, because again, right now he's got a 4 WAR and 16 homers. Pretty damn good.
It's good to have steroids. It sets you for life. Melky Cabrera had some too.
Mercy.
A-Rod. Oh.
You can't compare Melky and A-Rod.
Both
of those guys had completely different paths to success. Melky Cabrera could have taken all the steroids he wanted to and wouldn't have been good as A-Rod.
But Melky was kind of an also-ran player with the Yankees, and then he took steroids, got his big-ass deal, and was smooth. I think he got a deal from Toronto, then he got a deal from the White Sox.
I mean, the whole A-Rod stuff, he started taking steroids because of the big-ass contract.
Yeah.
He wanted to live up to it. He got paid and then was like, oh, I should probably be a little bit better. All right, let's tell people about ComEd. So the main thing, you talk about the culture, you talk about people not liking each other. We've heard a little bit about this, and I've been kind of taking in other White Sox media. And our Chuck, we had him on the podcast December. He was on his own White Sox Talk podcast with Ryan McGuffey. And I thought this was interesting that Chuck kind of just dropped this about the clubhouse.
But despite all the talent, the one thing that I've been hearing is the problems in the clubhouse. And you can look at a player and this player and that player and that player. How do they all work together? Can you create a winning culture, a winning team? And players who won elsewhere have come here, and I've heard from them, and their reaction is something like, what is going on here? What? This is what's going on here? This is not working. This is not good. And a lot of it had to do with the position players. And when Jose Abreu told the Sun-Times, I don't even need to say anything more than what Jose Abreu said. Jose Abreu told the Sun-Times after he went off to Houston, said, quote, I think the best way I can put it is just that we weren't a real family. These guys here in Houston, they're a family. Obviously, I can see why the Astros organization has had as much success as they've had in the last couple of years. Something is missing in that clubhouse, and you can change the coaching staff, or maybe change the coaching staff. Maybe they can help it, but there is a mix problem that is hurting them on the field and off the field.
And we heard a little bit about that from Dallas Keuchel, I think is mainly the biggest veteran. But too, that quote jumped out to us when Jose made it day of. And I guess now just looking back on it and now hearing all about that with Dallas Keuchel and even Guff made the point. I do like how he was like, he said this is the worst All-Star break for the White Sox that he can remember, which, I think is fair. And he said he did a lot of reflecting on, and he wasn't trying to have, a knee-jerk reaction or anything. Yeah. But then he also, about 10 minutes later, said that Yasmani Grandal was the worst contract in Sox history, which I don't know about that, Guff. Dallas Keuchel is a thing.
And Yasmani, I don't think, his first 2 years were pretty solid. And I said at the time, he's worth the contract that he signed and maybe a little bit more.
But thought the point, that Guff made about Grandal that really hasn't seemed to be a lightning rod. Doesn't really seem to be a guy that people talk about much.
No.
You know, Jose Abreu mentions them not being a family. Does Grandal talk to Moncada much? Does Anderson talk to Moncada that much? Does Anderson talk to Grandal that much? I mean, we talk about the core. I mean, is Anderson mingling with Eloy? We know Eloy mingles with Luis Robert, and it seems like Robert and Eloy mix with Moncada, and Abreu was a part of that crew as well. But it really doesn't seem like there is a bond between any of these players, and then Andrew Benintendi gets thrown in here, and
He's quiet as kept.
He's a quiet. He's not a vocal leader.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he talks to anybody. You know, it seems like Berger, Vaughn, and Sheets talk to each other, but even then, it seems like more Berger and Sheets rather than Berger, Vaughn, and Sheets. Like, it seems like it's very split up. And hey, you know, I mean, like, you know, you're just there to do a job, not be best friends, but also like, it's not a family, not a good vibe, and that's showing on the field.
Yeah, and that is part of Pedro and the coach's job, to have the clubhouse be a cohesive unit and to have them be the best that they can be before they go onto the field. And if that is some team building exercise, or we're doing some trust stuff, or you're playing video games with each other, I don't know, something where on the road you're just enjoying each other's company instead of all staying at the same hotel room and stay in your own hotel room. Let's come on down to the lobby. Let's have some enjoyable times with each other. Let's get to know each other outside the field. Let's actually be a brotherhood. Let's play for one another because we like each other type of situation. But, yeah, like you said, you've called out all the cliques, all the people who you see in the clubhouse. I mean, we haven't seen anything different from what Vinny reports or from what Chuck or Guff or anybody has reported, that this team doesn't seem that they want to play for each other. I don't know if they necessarily don't like each other, but it doesn't seem like it. Like, the jacket thing is nice, it's fun, it's lighthearted. Stupid. But there's nothing that says, man, these guys are just enjoying each other's time, even when you lose. You know, you could just enjoy each other's time, even though the game didn't go your way. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like doldrums when they lose, and when they win, it's a little bit better than that.
Well, and it just seems like the White Sox have all the ego in the world that's completely unchecked, and it just seems like they have their focus on the wrong things. I mean, what we hear from Jerry Reinsdorf, especially recently, is one of his now new ventures as an owner is to limit the size of front offices. Wonder why. I mean, there was a great managerial candidate in Joe Espada, and the rumor on why Joe Espada wasn't hired was because he wanted a larger staff, and he wanted to bring his own staff. He wanted to fire people and, you know, make the White Sox different, which was not good. That's a bad thing.
Yep.
And you look at Pedro Grifol and him talking about culture. A lot of culture is because there's a lot of people making up and doing their jobs and pulling left and right, and you know it's everyone making everyone else's jobs easier. So all the players have to do is show up. Yeah. You look at the size of some of the staffs, the front office, baseball operations, minor league operations, like the baseball specific stuff that these teams list on their websites. The Royals have 86 people in baseball operations, in minor league operations and amateur scouting, 47 specifically in baseball operations. The Dodgers have 72 people, and the White Sox total in major league operations, minor league operations, amateur scouting, and then Rick and Kenny have 44. So, I mean, that's just the big difference right there, is the team is not focused on improving their team. They are focused on, let's acquire players, basically like a video game. People will show up and fill the stands because the win column is there, and then we make money.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about culture, we all witnessed it last year. I mean, if any of us, and like I said, I don't like to necessarily do lay people's jobs to sports people's jobs, but if any of us, like if Steven was sent to the All-Star game for producers as a starter, me, Sean, Vinny, everybody in this office would rise up, give him a standing ovation, and cheer him on. Man, Steven, good job. We saw that last year where they announced that Tim Anderson was going to be the starting shortstop for the American League last year. Golf claps. Good job, man.
No,
Get out of
I'm
here.
not even
Get
sure
your
all
ass
of them
out
stood up for it.
Yeah,
It was
get your
just
ass out
mostly
of here.
seated.
Who cares?
It's
Like,
also because
they don't.
Kenny Williams
either they don't like
berated him before.
Yeah, and then Kenny came. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you got your bosses not understanding. Hey, there's going to be a big time announcement here, or hey, we need to have these players be as positive as they can. You coming down here and saying words to them and MFing them is not the right message, especially at this time where we're about to announce this guy's going to the All-Star game as a starter. And that video they put out there was pitiful. And it's either they don't like Tim or they didn't like what Kenny did, or a combination of all those things. And that's a bad thing if your team doesn't like that one of your players is going to be a starter in the All-Star game. White Sox don't get a lot of those at all. So when you get one, it should be a huge deal. And I think it turned a lot of people off when that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I mean, Tony turned me off. I mean, you mentioned that earlier, and that was probably the day that kind of ruined all this. And I don't really think it was specific signings or anything, because a lot of the signings, you look back when you first were reacting, like
Keuchel was good.
Keuchel was fine. Grandal was fine. Like, I mean, the one that I think I was pretty vocal about not liking is Benintendi.
Yes,
but he's not the reason the 2023 White Sox are this bad.
It's not the reason, but he's not helping that tough
again,
either.
A signaling of this bad front office and them being clueless. Herb, you want to let people know about ComEd? They might be clueless about ComEd. They might not understand how amazing ComEd is.
They're efficient.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They got a program.
Yeah, the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future, Sean.
Because ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
How does that work, Sean?
Well, an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they could start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, do not wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
That's comed.com/poweringbiz.
BIZ. Thank you, ComEd. Also want to let you know about our friends over at FOCO. Get fit in the best sports gear around. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. They also have Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything for baseball season and everything you need for a game, because FOCO is the best. We have some lovely, awesome set decorations that they have donated to us. We don't have any currently on display right now.
They're in Studio A.
They're in Studio A because that's the A-team. Got to get the A-team bobbleheads out in Studio A. But yeah, that A-team as well. Mr. T. I pity the fool that doesn't go on FOCO.com. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. And for all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Again, for all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off at FOCO.com. Okay. You want to shout out Liam Hendricks here?
Yeah. Last night at the ESPYs, Liam Hendricks got the Jimmy V Award for, I think, for courage. Jimmy V is Jim Valvano, a former NC State coach who had a brave battle with cancer, and his line was, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And every year at the ESPYs, they give a recipient, a valuable recipient, his award. And last night it was Liam's turn. And so Liam gave a nice, beautiful 4-minute speech. I would seek it out if you can. And giving credit to his wife, his doctors, and a great message about people who are going through troubles like him with cancer, people with depression, things are ailing them. He said that you should just send them a message. Send them a message via text, email, call them. He says, because those things really, if you're in a crappy mood and you're in your own feelings, which you should be, because having a diagnosis like stage 4 cancer is a serious thing, sending a message to one of your friends, family members, or a coworker, those things go a long way. So it was really good that Liam took his message and his fight with cancer and broadened it to everybody else who's out there, dealing with something, as we all have people in our life who has either been affected by cancer, affected by depression, affected by different ailments, always, check in your people, say what's up, make sure you tell your people you love them when you can. So it was a good message last night by Liam Hendricks, and glad there's some positivity coming out of the White Sox camp, and that's been the best story this year, the first half for the White Sox and probably the MLB. Liam Hendricks, both diagnosis and overcoming cancer, and then pitching baseball.
Yeah.
Too.
And I mean, I'm just so frustrated for him right now because he's dealing with something that's not related to that. That's just a normal athlete injury, and that's probably frustrating because he had to go through all of this unnormal stuff, and now he's just dealing with an injury with elbow inflammation. Again, we hear that he should be returning to pitching soon, so hopefully we will see Liam Hendricks in a White Sox uniform coming up again. But I mean, if it is possible too that Liam gets dealt. I know he's currently injured, and they'd have to pass all the medicals. But I mean, who wouldn't want that person on your team? Who wouldn't want to root for that person? Who wouldn't want to trust that guy in the ninth inning?
And I would think also that's probably part of the downfall of the White Sox, not having the person, Liam Hendricks, in the clubhouse all the time this year. Their big struggling month was no Liam Hendricks that whole month. And so I'm sure when times got rough, Liam can say, hey, man, we're better than this. Swallow that game. Let's go to the next. Because he does it all the time. Gives up home runs, gives up leads, gives up saves sometimes. And the next game, he's still Liam Hendricks. He buttons down and gets the job done. I remember last year, I come to you early after like a couple bad April relief appearances. And I was like, man, your man Liam is sucking, Sean. And you're like, calm down. He'll be fine. And he was.
He will be fine. He's a professional. And that's the thing is, I mean, you could just always rely and trust in him and that he'd bounce back. And, hey, shout out to Christy Hendricks, obviously Liam's wife, always supportive of Liam, everything that he's done. And she also has a Ashland Burger story where, she was like, hey, you're tipping your pitches. So, I mean, hey, it's not the first time we've heard a wife helping out a White Sox player. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We got 21 likes, and we really do appreciate everyone hanging out with us.
Don Cooper.
Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We know this team stinks, but we don't think that you guys stink. Thank you for hanging out with us, always chatting and giving your thoughts on the White Sox. We will be with you tomorrow at 1 p.m. It'll be me and Melky Hayes of Southside Sox chatting about Luis Robert Jr., maybe some draft stuff. And,
he had a good article. I did read that. It was good.
We're going to talk about the White Sox pulling inside fastballs. I mean, hey-oh.
You guys going to be getting tactical tomorrow. It's going to be good stuff.
I'm going to fucking nerd out. It's going to be awesome. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at ActonRoll23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing our show, and we will talk to you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Bye.